spring, where's Richard? The spring we did the back garden, the geophysics, and just started to dig in the back garden. Spring we also did the geophysics across the whole of this area here and along the concrete path that's behind us around there and right up to the building and right into that corner, as far as we can everywhere. And we've got, apart from that corner here, we've covered most of the area now in geophysical survey, and it turns up some quite interesting things. But to get back into context, this is the alignment of the 1998 excavation. That bit there is the wall we found when we did the original trench. So we went down to about that depth, only about 6 inches down the side of the wall, because then we reached the subsoil, and those subsoils and the soil that the wall was built on contained medieval pottery. So I could build a wall on top of this subsoil today and build on top of medieval pottery. It doesn't mean to say it's a medieval wall. So just because you've got a wall on top of medieval pottery don't mean to say it's a medieval wall. If there was a wall built on 19th century pottery, you know it's not a medieval wall. So that's how it works. So come this spring, we did the geophysical survey and we found all sorts of things under the lawn, but one thing we knew we had from the excavation was this bit of wall. Now this gets really, really complicated and almost farcical in its coincidental nature of the way we found things, as Richard will almost certainly back up. So the first thing we did is we uncovered this. So this is test pit 1, so it's a square metre there to find the wall. We knew where it was, went back straight over it, and then what we did is we lined that face up and that face up, and then we dug a trench. We lined a trench with 2 pieces of string all the way to that concrete edge and all the way to that concrete edge, and this one you still see the shape of where the string was. And then we started to dig some test bits. So that was test bit 1, and then we dug a test bit all the way along here, there, and we did one up that end. This is no, I can't even make this up. This is no word of a lie, but every single place we put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every single place we put a test bit, as you can see, it came up with something different. There were walls in every single test bit, and every single one of them was different. So the first one we had was this one. Lovely wall, 2 really clean faces. Excellent. So we're going to find a wall that goes from over there. What we want, we're going to find the end of this wall and see if there's a corner associated with it. Excellent. No chance. Start with that wall. Dug a test bit over here. We found this wall. And there's the bit of the test bit. And this wall had a face along there, but it didn't have a face along there. And that's not a face. So we knew we had one face that lined up with that, but something had happened to that face. So we extended it and moved it over here. We still have this face, and then these things turned up. But that face isn't there. That face for that wall is there. So now we've got 2 walls. So we've got a wall here, and then we've got another wall built on top of that wall with a different face which doesn't line up with that. So there's a face here and that's a face there. 2 different walls, 2 different heights. So we dug over here. Oh look, another wall. A face there, a face there. That doesn't line up with that one, and it doesn't line up with this one, and that's made a different material to that. These are big blocks. See the mortar? Different to the stuff that's inside there. So there's one face and that one face. That one's not even lined up with this one. This one goes slightly skew off over there. So now we've got several test bits and several walls. So tell you what, we'll go this way. So here's the original wall. We go this way. Now we've got a face here, and oh look, we've got another face over there. But that's the face here. Doesn't line up with this one. So this one is also built over that. So is that the same as that? Because if you look at these, small stone, small stone, small stone, long, small stone. It's quite large stone, slightly comparable to that. Small, small, larger, stop. So what's going on here? Is that the same as that one over there? In which case the stones aren't quite the same, and they're made of different material on the similar sort of alignment, and they overlie this wall, so it's not the same wall. Not only that, but when we continue this here, there's a dog leg in this wall here. Now this face is another face which should line up with that one, but it doesn't. So have we got another wall? We excavated a test bit here, slap bang over this wall. This wall goes this way. So we've got another wall. Excellent. Maybe they all join up and form a nice corner of a building. No way. Is that going to be that simple? So we excavate that way, and we excavate this way. This wall stops here, making no sense whatsoever, because this isn't a corner. Not only that, but it doesn't have any real relationship to this. Why would you build an extension out by a metre on this? So is it some sort of an extension? Is it some sort of buttress? What's it made of? Slightly different stones again. These are big stones, sort of almost squared off, and they're not like these, and they're not like those. Also, if you look at the inside, this is one of the key bits now. If you look at the inside of this wall, and that is the inside of this wall. This is very clay-like, and it's made of a completely different material to this, which, if you look at it in detail, is very, listen to this, this is very pink-like. So you've got mortar and an abundance of it. That's a badly made wall, because it's mostly mortar. So this is a wall that's been sort of thrown together using a lot of pink mortar. So, which wall is first? Right, so we've got this wall, which seems to be the earliest because it goes under everything. And then on top of it, so it has to be second, is this wall here. This wall contains a clay mortary mix that's very, very clay, more clay than mortar. And this wall is very distinctive because, thank God, if you look at these stones here, they're all tipping. So this wall is quite level there. The more you go onto this, away from this wall, it tips. Why does it tip? Because it's not got any foundations. But some of it has. This bit is built over that. This bit isn't. So the wall is doing that because not long after they built it, it started to fall over. This wall contains, so it had within it, when they made it, 17th century pottery, mid 17th century pottery. How old is that wall? It has to be mid 17th century or later. So I could build it yesterday, find some 17th century pottery and put it inside that wall. But you can't do it the other way around, so it has to be at least 17th century. So this wall is 17th century. So they built a wall in the 17th century and it started to fall over. Why? Because there was already a wall here. So why didn't they build that wall over that wall? Because it doesn't make any sense. The only reason is they didn't know this one was here. So they built that one along the same sort of alignment and in roughly the same position, but they didn't know this was here already. So obviously this wall had gone big time and all residue of it had probably gone. So that's a much later wall than this one, because this one had disappeared. And somebody went to dig up wall in the same place and they started to build this. Here, along the alignment of here, you get this wall. It looks like they found the mistake because they've removed this bit of wall. So why did that wall fall over? Because that bit's got a foundation but the other side didn't. Why did this wall not fall over presumably? Because it took the foundation away, so it was the same both sides. And then a long time later somebody comes along and removes most of this wall. So what they're doing is they're building a wall, removing it, building another one, removing it, building another one. So we've got at least 3 phases of wall here along the same sort of axis, almost the same alignment, but stepped to one side or whatever. And then at some time or other they built this one perpendicular to that one. Now this is where it starts getting interesting, because we know this is mid-1700s, sorry, mid-17th century, mid-1600s. When was the hall built? Mid-1600s. So this wall almost certainly ties in to one of the first phases of the house. So what is it? It's not a medieval chapel. That one's not a medieval chapel because it's too late. This wall is built, it's the same as that one. This wall is built of the same clay material you can see there, here. And this one had actually fallen over, and then somebody removed all the stones. But what you don't do when you remove the wall to rebuild, use the stone, you don't move the mortar. So, Richard, remember this, we've got this thin spread from about there, of that brownie material. What I think that is now is the mortar from this wall. So basically the wall's gone like that, it's gone poof, fallen over, gone. As soon as your wall falls over, or it's in the process of falling over, you come along, take all the stones, and you leave the mortar in place. So that mortar goes to about there, and then seems to fade out and stop. So how high is the wall? Is it that high? If it falls over and goes that far, how high is it likely to be?
As high as that.
About that high. Falls over. It could be that high and they've just removed all of it very, very cleanly. It's not looking like that based on the evidence. So it looks like the wall's fallen over, and not only that, but this wall that was built in the mid-1600s has fallen over. So it could be the day after they built it. So from the mid-1600s onwards, there's a wall that's fallen over, or been pushed over or whatever. And then sometime or other, somebody's come along, taken all the stones out, and this, that we kept finding, this area here, we've not made that, that's how flat it was. It was flat all the way along there as well. We kept digging holes in, trying to understand it, and digging this. We dug this here because this is where the original path was. So the interesting thing now is, on top of this, the demolished wall, is the mortar that makes this wall. And this wall contains a mortar from the same mortar as that wall. And this mortar contains the same mortar that's in the wall at the back of the house. So it has to be post mid-1600. Not only that, but this mortar that was in this wall, you can't even see it today because it's all been washed over. But there's a bit there. This mortar lies on top of the debris of the earlier wall. So that means that they built this wall on top of that debris after this wall had fallen down. And to confirm it and strengthen that, there's this wall which butts up to this wall. So there was this wall, and then this wall. And it looks like they've learnt the lesson now, because when they build this wall, they're not building it on that one or that one. So it looks like they cleaned it all off and then made a nice flat layer of land and built that up. And we're assuming at the moment, because that very end wall has got similar mortar, unlike these walls, to this one and this one. So let's go the other way. We've got this is mid-1600s. We've got that which is after the mid-1600s. Whether it's the day after, the year after, the century after, we don't know, because we can't date that one yet. And then we've got this one, and then this wall here, as a wall, seems to stop somewhere around here, and then it continues using similar stones. They might even be in situ, but those stones are totally unworn on the edge. That one, and that one, somebody's been walking over them. So they've been doing this for a very long time. Now that is a bit coincidental, because that wall stops there and this wall goes over there. So were they blocking something? In which case, has that got a different and more level foundation because it was later anyway? Now we know that one and that one's later, but is this slightly later, or what's going on here? So was this in situ, and was there a doorway or something, or a gate or some sort of entrance way here? We don't know yet. And then associated with this wall all the way along here are these very, very small stones which look like, you can't say cobbles, it's like gravel, but they're bigger than gravel. So the stones that seem to be forming a walkway that are right up against this wall. And when you get to this area here, all the stones start getting bigger and more level and weird. And then when they come to this bit here, that suddenly comes out here, and those are worn. There seems to be another one there, but that was fractured and fallen to pieces. The reason is that that one, you still see it there, and this corner have been used to build a fire. For whatever reason. So all these stones around here show evidence of fire burning, including this one, which is just fractured and fallen to pieces. But you take these stones up from here, which are similar to, still got bits and pieces in there. Not quite gravel, not quite somewhere to walk on, but somewhere between the two. And underneath that, it's all only medieval pottery. So that ties into this almost certainly being medieval, or very soon afterwards, but almost certainly before that was built. So we've got something here which looks potentially medieval, and some sort of surface associated with that. And then when you come here, this surface which I'm standing on slopes. So instead of being like that, it goes like that. It comes round here, and this again is a level surface, and then it does this. And if you look in here, when you come past, all this is gravel at the bottom. So this is a walked, a trodden surface. So why is there something so close to a structure dives off so quickly? Now we did another test bit in 2014, right next to this one, and it was exactly the same. And at the time we thought this was almost certainly some sort of path. So it looks like there was a path or a track that went along here, from somewhere down there to somewhere up there, and then at some time somebody's formalised the edge of this path and built this wall. And this ties in with that, which is later than that, which is later than that. So either they destroyed this bit of the wall, frustratingly, or it didn't come this far. So what we did is, Michael allowed us to, first of all we dug a huge test pit just behind the end of the path there, and that went down to, it was over a metre, down into nothing, and it's full of building rubble. Stone, limestone building rubble, no datable material in it at all. But the wall, this wall, goes along here and then stops. So if you look between here and where the car is down there, there's a drop of about not quite a metre. This wall is flat and level until it gets just the other side, not quite the end of the drive, and then this wall stops. And then at the end of it there seems to be almost some sort of revetment, or either somebody's dug something away or they've constantly been pushing it and building up and building up. So this is now level, and then you get to the other side of the trees and it drops off quite significantly. So we don't know what this is. Apart from, we know it's later than that, and that's later than that, and that's almost certainly medieval. And the other thing we came across while we were excavating this wall was this monstrous stone. And this is a ridiculous sized stone, because I don't know how much it weighs, but it's about that deep. You see how wide it is and how long it is. Absolutely massive. First of all, what is it? Is it significant? Well, it's along the same alignment as this wall. So why did they put that stone there? And the clue was when we dug this side of it, because here, I'll take you all the way now. See the trace of it there. There's some very large, about that big, cobbles in an arc between here and the end of the wall. And this was a step, because if you do that, that's quite a big step. So somebody wanted to make life easier, so they built another step on this side of it, our big cobbles. And they were nicely placed cobbles, proper cobbling, I don't know if you've seen it, flat on the surface like a triangle. You ram the cobble into some earth and clay, ram it down. The more work it gets on top of it, the stronger your cobbling gets. That's how roads and paths are made. And that's what this was here. Beautifully made cobbled path, with no reason whatsoever, apart from it made that a little bit easier. What date was that? It had 17th century material in it. But then again, that's the earliest it could have been. Because it's earlier than that and earlier than that, that's mid 1600s. So it's some time after that. Remembering that there's a feature here which looks like a path or a track. And the question I would like to answer is, where's that going? Where's it going from? Where's it going to? Well, if you look that way, I'll tell you exactly where it's going to. It's going to where the burials are. So why is this path? And we don't know how wide it is, because we've not dug that far yet. But it'd be nice to see if this is a path, as in a narrow path, or whether it's like a cart track size path. In which case it could go half the way to most of the way to the car. But the point is, it's going that way and it's well trodden. And it could have been here before all this. So is that a path or a track? It's going somewhere up here. In which case it's a bit coincidental that it's actually going to... Sorry? You can tell the way it's lying. That's a slope and it's very parallel. If it was going that way, then the slope would be that way, wouldn't it? Instead it's that way. So it's not that way, but this way, it's that way. So just by, it's going somewhere that way, roughly. And obviously if you dug more, we'd dug more of the path, we'd find out where it is. Yeah, part of the ground plan. So we've got a path down there going that way, and then we've got a wall which parallels the path. It's like a boundary wall. And then we've got there. Seems to be latterly used as a step. Why didn't you use that as building material? puzzled me until I realised when you look at it from there all the way down there and all the way down there, there's a massive crack. So it's building material and that's rubbish. So somebody left it to one side, presumably on the side of the building site. And one day someone said, I need a step. Yeah, well, we don't remember. We did over there. 98, we did the path all the way. So we just follow the path. Yeah, there was a path all the way. You just about see it now. It's grown really well, actually. We did turf, using turf path here. Got loads of turf down here. That's on the left. Yeah, I should imagine most of these are dead there.